crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. Without you, driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. It's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. Give it to me like world without you. Crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live without you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone is good. Hope everyone has had a good day. Well, past couple of results been pretty sweet for us. Can't complain about that, and I will get to them in a minute. Been quite a relaxing day. Must admit, couple of coffees, just sitting back, watching YouTube, and yeah, it's been a laugh. Very interesting what you see going on. But anyway, well, who can complain about them two results? I suppose you can look at it and say, who would have seen it coming? But then there's the other side of it, which it has just got so obvious on it. It's the sort of thing we go and do. Like, go and do City, brilliant win. I mean, I don't care what anyone says about that. They still had 7 players on that pitch that could easily get in our team. So I still class that as a good win. Villa, did I see 4-1 coming? No. I did not see 4-1 coming. But again, totally, utterly destroyed them in that second half. Totally destroyed them. Then we got our next 2 games. We got Galatasaray and we got Ipswich. Now, wouldn't it just have Spurs written all over it to go and win them 2 and then fucking lose against Ipswich? That is what I'm worried about. And with this game coming up with Galatasaray, with the injuries we've got, I'll go on to that one soon. But that tomorrow at Galatasaray is not going to be a nice game. That has got to be one of the roughest grounds and roughest places to go to in the world of football, as far as I'm concerned. Call it European, because we all know the South American one's pretty savage as well. But that's not going to be a fun game, for sure. And with the injuries we've got and the way we need to circulate our team, I've got a feeling there are going to be some young players starting on there. Are they going to be ready for a game like Galatasaray? Now, playing in the Premiership is one thing. Playing in the Premiership is not easy. We all know that. Playing football ain't easy. But going and getting our youth and putting the majority of them a team against Galatasaray, it's not really the game they want to be worried about. It's the stadium. It's the fans. That is enough to rock anybody. That is enough to rock a fully grown man just being in that stadium with that lot against you. Let alone a 16-year-old and a couple of 18-year-olds with seriously lack of experience. That is the bit that worries me on there. But even if we lose that game with Galatasaray, we're no way out of the picture. I think we only need to win another 2 games anyway, and we're through anyway. But another win would obviously help. I mean, so going to that game, I'm going to say hello to a couple of people first. And then I'll go to the games we just played. I mean, I'm a bit late on catching up. I was meant to do a show last night at 7. And then after I arranged it all, I actually realised I pressed the wrong time and the wrong date because I was taking my wife out to the cinema. We went and go see that new Venom film. Yeah, pretty good, pretty comical, getting a bit too fucking cheesy for my liking, but no, it was a good night out, and that was needed. Right, Tony Rodriguez, how you doing, mate? Hope everything's good for you. Big up Dan, Guess in the chat, Ange out, Levy out. And Sue Smith, big up to Dan and everybody. Worried about our injuries, to be honest. Very much so, because they are starting to stack up, aren't they? And we are getting to that lovely stage that people like as Christmas. You see, this is where it comes to dry lunch, Sue and everybody else. I fucking hate Christmas. No, hate, sorry, wrong word. I don't use that. I dislike Christmas. It does my head in. It's all just a money thing now. And the fact that all the shops and everything else, and even down at the stadiums are doing it, by the time it gets to October, November, Christmas does my head in. The only thing I like it for is the amount of football that's on. But yeah, the injuries always do seem to come up for us for Christmas, don't they? Around that time. And I think that happens with a lot of teams as well. And Sue, what you're saying here, it was around this time last season we thought exactly that. It always is Christmas. And where we have a very small team, very small squad basically, plus a young squad, a couple of injuries to our star players like we have got is going to have a massive effect. And Jazz, hello Sue, Tony, Dan, and all listening for a bit after a long night. What's that? Long night at work, mate? Hope everything's good anyway. And Jonas C, big up everyone. What a great day. Leave you out, Ange out, Lange out. It has been a good day, mate. I'm sure people got their reasons. Everyone's got their reasons why they had a good day. I've had an amusing day, I must admit. And John Joe, what about nose out? I don't quite get what you're saying there, mate. You're going to have to redo that. Maybe I'm just a bit slow today. And Jordan, big up to you too, mate. Hopefully things good. And Sue saying hello to Jazz, saying hello to Jordan, and Tony saying hello to Jazz, and Sue to Tony. And Jazz, Gala, no easier. It's not going to be an easy game, mate. That is going to be rough and fucking ragged to the eyeballs. That stadium is horrendous to go to and have a go. I mean, Turkey is not a friendly place to go and challenge. I mean, if you go to Turkey on holiday and everything, Turkey's fine. Nice place. Go to there to challenge them for something, you better have backup with you, that's for sure. And Phil Coy's, big up Dan, big up to you, mate. Hope you're having a good day as well. And Sue saying, worried about the injuries will be our downfall again. Exactly. That is what I think we're all worried about. I mean, even Arsenal not having the luckiest of seasons now, are they? And that's starting to show with them as well. I mean, last season, they couldn't have had it easier, those bastards, could they? But either way, let's hope their injuries last a bit longer. And David, how you doing, mate? Shame you can't be on here. I know you're at work, fella. So what you're saying here, we have enough points in Europa to give the youngsters experience with Galatasaray away and focus on Ipswich. Yeah, I can agree with that, mate. The only bit I'm debating is, I mean, they talk about chucking him in at the deep end, chucking him in at Galatasaray, mate. As far as I'm concerned, there is no end on it. It'll be an experience for him, I suppose. And like you say, we're pretty much through on Europa. Give us another win, maybe 2, and we're through basically. And Tony saying hello to Sue. Everyone's saying hello to everyone. What's Sue saying here? I think he has to play the strongest 11 available to him. Not with Galatasaray, I don't. I think the Ipswich game is more important because we can afford to lose that Galatasaray game and it doesn't necessarily affect our season. We go and lose that to Ipswich, bang, there you go. 2 steps forward, 4 steps back, and it's got Spurs written all over it. That's why I'm worried about that one. And Anthony Clark, AFC, how you doing, mate? Big up, Dan. You showed Villa who's boss. Yeah, and I must admit, they've got a manager that I rate very highly. I think he is a very good manager. And he just totally got it wrong in that second half. Absolutely got it wrong. And Ange got it right again. Let's just hope we can see that word that everyone is using at the moment and a lot of people want, and that is a bit of consistency. You know what? Saying the word so much myself, I'm sick to death of hearing it. It almost pisses me off as much as that word context that you just hear everywhere. But either way, I'm using the word enough myself, so I just have to deal with it. But it is consistency. That is what we are lacking. That is what we need now. I mean, what's the good of winning 2 games like that and then going to lose to Ipswich? Like, we go and smash West Ham and then we go and get absolutely cooked by bloody Crystal Palace. I know it was only a 1-0 defeat, but that has just got to be one of the worst games of football I've seen us play in a long time. And that's a very long list. And Sue saying, David, I mean, we should have ample enough for Ipswich. However, this is Spurs we are talking about. Exactly that. Jordan saying, Dragusin should not play. We need him for Ipswich. That's the bigger game. I agree there, but then where do we go apart from Dragusin? I mean, you can tell me we stick Archie Gray in the middle? I mean, because Ben Davies is definitely going to go there. And it's where do we go from now? I mean, Dragusin and Davies did not look bad in that last game at all. And if anything, in some ways, to me, they looked more stable than bloody Van der Ven and Romero. Personal opinion, call it that, but I think they actually looked more stable than them two. I mean, Dragusin, he hasn't played many games altogether. Would it be bad to play in this game and the next game consistently? I mean, he's not a schoolboy, for God's sake. He should be ready for this sort of thing. My more problem with that is, who do we put there instead? Who else can we put there instead of Dragusin? That is the question with it. And Bertie Hotspur, big up, guys. Smash a like and subscribe. The delusion continues. Big up to you, mate. And Tony saying, if Angus McDowell shows up, I'm not here. He's a fucking stalker. I take it you've got someone who likes you then, mate. We all have a few of them. And so Dan couldn't agree more about Christmas, bar humbug. I'm totally with you. It pisses me off. It really does. I mean, the best bit about Christmas is when I get to go round my wife's grandmother's place and have a banging dinner. She cooks a wicked Christmas dinner. And then obviously have a good drink after. And depends what state you go home in on how you feel the next morning. I mean, last Christmas, that didn't go the best of ways by the next day. Hangover was an understatement. Drank a bloody litre of Southern Comfort. Didn't even realise I was drinking it because so busy talking at the table. God, I think it was the rest of the week I was literally hanging out my arse. It was bad. I won't be doing that again, that's for sure. And Daniel Coy saying, big up to you too, mate. So I think Angus is having a breakdown somewhere. Yep. And Edwardson, that's what I just call you, mate. It's the easiest way to put it. Good evening, Dan at HotspurHood. Evening to you too, mate. And he says hi to the chat. And Sue saying, hey up. Oh, Saber, how we doing, mate? Hope everything's good for you too as well. Dan, want to hear something funny? I had an Ange fan tell me that I want Ange out because of his nationality. Funny thing is, we're both Greek. Right, people will make excuses and excuses. I mean, I just had my DNA tests and everything done because the missus wanted them done and so did my daughter. And came through that I was something 12% Greek in there myself and a bit of this and a bit of that. A bit of a roller coaster, really, when you do them DNA things. You think, where the hell did that come from? But yeah, well, we all know people will make excuses. I mean, I've been called racist several times now because I refused to say that Son is or was a world-class player. For me, quality player, world-class finisher. For me, that don't make a world-class player. And I've been called racist because of that. Don't worry, mate. People will try and throw it at you. The easiest 2 words to it is just fuck off. But that's for me anyway. And So, start again. Edwardson saying hi to Sue, and Tony saying big up Sava. Sava saying stop using my word. What one's that? Context or consistency? Consistency we can share, yeah. Context, that is your one, mate. That ain't mine. And we all knew we needed more in the window, so yes, we definitely did. And Anthony saying that's what you call Spursy when you lose to Ipswich. That is exactly my problem, mate. That is exactly it. Go and do City, go and do Villa, and then fuck it up with Ipswich. It's just got Spursy written all over it, and that is why I'm literally dreading it. I mean, as soon as I start talking about it, I just need to smoke a fag. I mean, believe it or not, I don't even smoke that much. It's just when I'm doing this or when I'm down the pub. Call it sociable. That's what people tell me anyway. And Saba saying here, laugh out loud. If Goosen doesn't play, then who do fans like Jordan want to see at centre back? We have a crazy fan base. That's what I was asking, mate. Who else can we put there, really? Who can we put there? We definitely haven't got enough backup there unless we go stick Archie Gray in the middle. But then who do we play on the right? And Tony's saying, we are not winning the league, so go for it all in Europe. I agree with that, mate. But as said, this next game against Galatasaray, it's not the end of the world if we lose it. Obviously, we want to win it, but it's not the end of the world for anybody. I think the Ipswich one is more important to an extent because I think that is the one that will either knock us off our high horse or actually get us into a proper role. And Saba saying, why can't players play in both games? Exactly my point. I mean, Dragusin, he's not 16, 18 years old. He's a professional player, has been for a while. Sure enough, he's fit enough to play 2 games. I think some people are just being a bit scared that we lose him because we are starting to get the injuries through. And Sue saying, Saba, some people, sheesh, I want them out because it's not up to my job and my opinion. And Jordan, Sava, it's only because Romero and VDV are out. Yes, like we said, they are. But for me, I'd start Dragusin and Davis. It's the easiest way. And Sue, I'm racist. Don't we all get told, mate? We get labelled. I mean, God, how can you be racist to Australian? What would you get called of? Australophobic or so? I can't. Someone give me a word for it. You'd be phobic to something. I mean, you always bloody are. Not you, but everybody. Australian. What one would you actually be with that? You'd be phobic to something. And so, start again. And Sammy saying, big up Dan, big up to you, mate. Eugene, how we doing? Hi to everyone. And Levy out, of course. Nothing changes there, mate. Scott, big up to all the coys. Last one I go here for at the moment is Howling Mad Murdoch. Different name. I like that, mate. That's a good one. Big up Dan in the chat. Sorry I'm late. Nothing to be sorry about, mate. Right. So I'll go with that game, that last game. First half, I don't think we showed much. And personally, I thought Aston Villa had the game under control better than us. Reason I say that is because it just seemed they was playing their way. And we were sort of playing into it. That's how the first half pictured across to me. And then who was it who scored that goal on the 32nd minute? Rodgers, if I remember right, goes and puts that in. And I think it couldn't have just been me who sat there and just thought, here we go. Because Villa, no mugs. Very good team, good players, steady squad, very good manager. And I must admit, I did think, and here we go. But we didn't. We came on in that second half. I don't know what Ange said. I don't know whatever happened. Maybe some people got a slap in the face they needed. I know some people prefer it a kiss on the cheek, but good old slap round the ear, I'll never hurt no one. And not in a long time anyway. And I think that's what he did. I mean, Johnson, he got in the right position. He done very well to get in that position and put it in the back of the net. And Son, brilliant cross. Whereas in the first half, to me, Son, he was anonymous, basically. You didn't really see much of him in the second half. I don't really think you saw much of him in the second half, really. Or Johnson. Once Johnson scored his goal, to me, he went missing for the game. Yes, chased after the ball a fair few times. That's what you're meant to do, but you're also meant to get the ball and do something with it. That is one of my biggest problems with Johnson. Yes, he scored a few goals. Well done. Credit where it's due. He had the pressure on his back. He's gone and done it. But you can't just keep going, scoring a goal in a game, or setting something up and then disappearing for 80 minutes. You can only do that as a striker, as far as I'm concerned. And he does have a habit of doing it. But he got that first goal we needed, and I think he done a very good job to get in the position to tap it in the back of the net. Whether it's a tap in or not, a goal's a goal, and he done good to get in the position for it. And again, Son, what a cross. And then just in a madness along with that, I mean, what was it? 3 goals in 8 or 9 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it was. It was just a bit crazy after that. Solanke goes and puts it in. I mean, brilliant pass, excellent setup by Tottenham, excellent bit of play, I think. And the way he clipped that past the keeper, that was like something you usually see when you're playing FIFA. That's like something you usually see when you actually watch a team like Barcelona, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, or Bayern Munich play. That is how high I will personally rate that goal. I think he took that brilliant. Looked the piece as well. And then the one for the end of it, Maddison's free kick. We haven't seen one like that for a while. And for me, that was an excellent free kick. I mean, when was the last time Spurs actually scored a free kick? When was actually the last time? I don't know. Someone's going to have to tell me. I really don't know the last time we actually scored a set-piece free kick. Straight shot at goal. Not crossing it in for someone to head it in or whatever. An actual straight shot at goal where we put it in the back. And Maddison just looked up, see the keeper out, and just put that nicely on the right-hand side. And their keeper's no mug either. That Martinez is a very good keeper. I think he's very underrated. And he just got left standing there, basically. Excellent goal by Maddison. Overall, you can't complain. You can't complain about the result. You can't complain about the game. Yes, there's bits we could pick out of it, but I think I'll leave that for this one in the aspect of 4-1 to Villa at home. I'm an extremely happy man. Same with the Man City game. I'm just more worried to what comes up next. I mean, the other thing I will pick on that game is a lot of people have claimed that we've dominated games. A lot of people have claimed that we've totally controlled games. I don't think we have. Just because you've got 75% possession, whatever else, to me, that doesn't mean you've dominated or totally controlled a game. But a lot of people seem to think it is. I suppose it's each their own at the end of the day. But for me, no, you need more to it to dominate a game as such. And I wouldn't say we dominated that game completely. Second half, absolutely. But first half, no. I mean, some have even asked, what was actually the better game? Us doing Man U or us doing Villa? Now, doing Villa was the harder game for me. And second half is probably some of the best I've seen us play. But I would say that game against Man U was actually more consistent. Because I think we actually controlled that from the first half to the end, bar maybe 5-10 minutes during the second half. I think that game we had a lot more of a consistent game of control. Whereas against Villa, first half, like I said, I thought it was more in their favour overall. But second half, totally controlled it. Is anyone having repercussion thoughts of this? Is anyone sitting there thinking, this sounds familiar? Because for me, it's starting to look very similar to a Conte. Why do I bring him into this? Well, because Conte seemed to used to get us that we'd either have an excellent first half and a shit second half, or vice versa. And most of the games we've played this season, bar I'd say that Man U game, it's all been about one half that we've either got it or lost it. We don't seem to be a stable enough, consistent enough team yet to dominate or to control, let's say, dominates OTT, but to control a game for 90 minutes, 80 minutes even. And that's where I'd say it's definitely got similarities, because that's exactly what it was like under Conte. Was it even any different under Mourinho? How much have things really changed then? Because we do seem to be the team still that likes to pick either the first half or the second half on what we control. We need to start doing it for a game on a more regular basis. I mean, what was it? From what I read, I mean, I don't do the point this and that. So it was mainly 51%, 51% possession to us and 49 to Villa. That isn't controlling a game with possession, is it? No, that was actually one of the most evened out ones that we've actually played. And the other question I got with it, I mean, the shots we had, like 16 for us, 12 to them. I had to write them down here because otherwise I forget them. And they had their 8 off target, we had 6 on target, whatever. And from there, I mean, corners 6-4. We got the better of them the whole game. But I think in that game, that showed something else as well to me. Same as it did the Man City game. I think 3 of those 4 goals we got was out of counter-attack. And I just still personally think this team on a counter-attacking style would, and what's Simon saying here? Yeah, got to be Eriksen. Yeah, I think Eriksen might well have been our last one that put it in the back of the net from a free kick. I think you might be right there. I can't picture anyone else doing it. Did Kane do it? No, I think Eriksen might well have been the last one who did it. But I think it shows again, the counter-attacking system, I just think it works better for us overall. Yes, times in a game you can go for it, go all guns blazing on it. But there's other times where you've got to sit back and defend and go on the counter-attack side. And I think that just suits our team down to a T. Much better. So the other question is with it as well, is Ange actually adapting? Was that game against Man City, was that how he intended it to go? Was that how he actually wanted us to play? Or was it that City were just on us that much that we had no option but to play a counter-attack? I suppose time will tell on that, but that City one, in that second half, I think he changed it round a little bit and maybe quite possibly told them to do what they did. Is he adapting? It's starting to look like it. But again, he'd done this last season, where 1 minute it looks like he's adapting. It looks like he's making the right decisions. It looks like he's changing his mind. It looks like he's opening up. Only playing one inverted, not both of them. And then all of a sudden we go and have another game and he stands there and does sweet FA. And this is why I just can't back up, as what people would say, this manager yet. It took him a good 9 months to lose me. It's going to take him a good, let's say, 2-3 months consistent results to get me back. And what I mean by consistent results, we're not going to win every game. I mean, you don't have to win every game, but at least stand there and look like you're making the decisions, trying to make the decisions. As soon as it goes against us, don't just sit there and do nothing. Not until about 70, 75 minutes, like he has done on several occasions. And then you go and see another game we play where he stands there, he's willing to make all the decisions, everything, and it all goes right. So is it a pressure thing on the team or is it a pressure thing on Ange? I really don't know. I just don't know where I stand with this fella. I really don't. I've been saying Ange out for a while now, and then I watch a couple of games and I think my man's learning. I think he's getting the hang of it. Maybe I've underestimated him. And then back to what I said, he'll go and have a game where he does absolutely nothing, and you just think there's no in between with Spurs. There's no in between with us. It's either up there or down there. There's games we've looked, or halves, should I say, we've looked very good, and then other times nothing. No stability in it whatsoever. And that's what we need to see by consistency. I want to see us beat teams like Aston Villa on a more regular basis. No, again, we're not going to win every game, but we've got to win a bloody couple of them. It just took us, 10 months to go and beat a team of their quality? 10 months, 11 months, whatever it was, give or take a month. That's not good. That is not good. I mean, the stats don't lie in the aspect of we have literally been playing to a style with the results we've got, not far off. I wouldn't quite say a relegation team, but I'd say someone in like 12th to 15th place would be playing. This is where we need to see the consistency side. And I suppose only time will tell with that one. But then a lot of people have changed their mind with Ange over the past 2 games. And it will only take that defeat against Ipswich before a lot of people flip-flop back to the other side. it's a very strange one we're sitting in here at the moment, I think, with Ange, because like I said, 1 minute he just looks like he's got it, next minute he really don't. He just seems to come off the game, basically. He seems to just disappear. And like I said, that is what I find most frustrating about this bloody manager. So I'll go to a couple on the side here. Brian, what are you saying here? Like our team, he's very inconsistent. Exactly. That is my point. And Jordan saying, big up to Sue. Sue saying, I'm still Ange out until he can prove me wrong. Exactly the same. And that's not going to happen in 5 minutes, but we've seen a bit of progress. Now let's see more of it. I'm not one to change my mind just because someone had a brilliant game or two. Same as I wasn't Ange out until it went over about 9 months and it was just consistent crap. So he's going to take about a good 2 months of some solid games to win me over, for me to step back and say, okay, let's give him a bit more of a chance, basically. And Edwardson, what you're saying here, at Levy out channel, better than Levy's underpants. Yeah, well, I wouldn't even want to know what they're like, mate. And Sue Smith saying, like Jordan. Edwardson saying, yeah, Levy out channel. See, and Sue saying, 2 games prove nothing. Totally agree. Well, no, actually, let me counter that a bit. 2 games do prove something. They prove that Ange does have an idea of what to do because he's gone and done it. If anything, it's then 2 games will give you more frustration. Well, for me anyway, in the frustration aspect of, well, if you can do it then, why can't you do it there? It's like our home and away record. That is the one that needs to improve. Our away record. That is appalling. Our home record, we're actually turning it into a bit of an hard place to go, really, at Tottenham. I think the last time I actually saw Tottenham, I would never say it's been a scary place for anyone to play. It's always been happy-go-lucky there for a lot of teams. But was that season we went with with Poch, and I think it was we literally won every game there with 2 draws. That wasn't his last season. I think that was his season before last, if I remember right. It definitely wasn't his last season. But that place actually, I think that was our last year at White Hart Lane. He done that. If I've got that right, someone tell me. If wrong, do tell me. Like I say, for dates and that, I'm absolutely terrible. And I do think he made it so people were worried about coming to Tottenham, that they knew they was in for a match. And slowly but surely, it looks like we're doing this at home because our home record is very good. It's just our away record is absolutely piss poor. So you got to, this is where that consistency comes in. We need to improve away now. That is the main thing we need to focus on. Everything's going good at home. Keep it how it is. But now we've got to focus on the away games because we've got to get some points in on these away games if we want to get up that table. I mean, the last time I see us go, I remember when we went in the Champions League and I think we had, 3 or 4 draws that season and literally just as many losses as we had wins, but we still managed to get 4th place. This is why, for me, a draw at times, I mean, people are going to say this sounds a bit mad, but a draw at times can almost come off worse than a defeat if you add them up. I mean, how should I describe it? 3 wins, 2 losses. 2 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. You think that one sounds better because it's only 1 defeat. It's not. 3 wins and 2 losses is actually better because you're a point better off. This is where I think draws can actually be quite deceiving. Whereas in other games, like if you go to Liverpool, if you go to Man City, dare I even say it, even if you go to Arsenal, and definitely if we went to Chelsea, you get a point out of it, you'd be like, yeah, sweet, I can deal with that. And then other games, no. A draw, too many of them can also hold you back very much as well. And what's Edwinson saying here? It's Levy who sucks the most. Yes, he does, mate. And Levy out channel, you're a real one, Dan. Thanks a lot, mate. Appreciated. Sue saying, most definitely, yeah, to AI. Wilson T, Sue, Angie's bothered what all you think. Mate, sure Angie's bothered about what all you think. Mate, if he ain't bothered what I think, he probably don't give a fuck about what you think either. if none of us are Premier League managers and none of us are Premier League coaches and everything else, it makes all us negative lot as such. I label myself in that lot now because that's how I've been labelled, toxic and negative. That we're not managers, we're not coaches, we're not professionals, so we're irrelevant. What would we know? Fair point. But then on the positive sides, I look over, I class them as a different side, call it left, call it what you want. On the positive side, you ain't managers either. You ain't Premier League coaches either. You don't do it for a job either. So if my opinion is irrelevant, and anyone else who tells me that, your opinion's just as irrelevant as everybody else's. Just some have a more sensible opinion than others. And if Ange's watching the show, like you said, he's probably, like Wilson just said, sure Ange is bothered about what we think. He's probably not. But I'm going to tell him, Ange, stop doing that inverted wing back so much because it does my head in, and I think we play better on counter-attack. So take my advice, mate, and watch the last 2 games. But that's only if Ange's watching. I doubt he is, but it's a small world, so they say. And Edwardson saying we need a decent chairman instead of this prat. Yeah, I think that's a nice word to use for him as well, to tell the truth. I mean, I could think of a few other words for him. Word I won't try and use in here, but I'd definitely ring up Levy for a beer and say, see you next Thursday. But I don't know, maybe Tuesday. But there we go. That's Levy down to a T for me. And Angus, how we doing, mate? Evening all, Arteta and Kroenke, all of them out. I see. Has your opinion changed then, mate? Or have you been like this for a while? Or is it just a couple of games are starting to go against you now? And if you lose another game, you know this season's over for you in winning that league. I know City don't look too great at the moment, but we all know City don't even pull their finger out until they come to about, what, March, April, and then all of a sudden they go 10 games unbeaten. Every year without fail, they basically do that. Nearly every season in the past 5, they've done it. And are Arsenal capable of doing that? No. Are Liverpool? No. Looking good at the moment. I mean, the way they cooked Leverkusen the other night totally destroyed them 4-1, if I remember right. And who are you playing tonight? You're playing my second team, Inter Milan. So I will have my Inter Milan shirt on later, and I will be watching that and shouting out for Inter Milan. And then double as much because it's against you, dirty bastards. Nothing personal. I just don't like Arsenal. But are you really Arteta and Kroenke out? Really? I mean, Kroenke, when he had that first season with, he didn't look too bothered. But when he's handed it over to his son, the amount that they have put into your club is what we would love to see at Spurs. So you're almost taking it for granted. You want Kroenke out. Now, Arteta, I can get it. I mean, he's had, what, 800 million spent on him, 700 million? And, okay, he's got an FA Cup. That's more than we've got in, like, 16, 20-odd years. Fair enough. But he's, how'd you put it, so near yet so far sort of thing. And it's already looking like this season could go downhill for you with the injuries. So Arteta, I could understand. But Kroenke out? I tell you what, mate, I'll do a swap. Fucking have Levy and I'll have Kroenke, you know. I'll do a straight swap with you there, mate. Maybe you should appreciate what you got there. Try having a chairman like Daniel fucking Levy. Then start complaining to me. Then start complaining to other channels and other people and other fans and everything. When you've got an absolutely see you next Thursday like that as your owner, then start complaining. With what you got at the moment, I think most of us on this side would absolutely kill for that. So each their own at the end of the day. And Sue saying, Wilson, I'm sure he's not, but we're entitled to our opinion nonetheless. Exactly that, Sue. And your opinion counts just as much as anybody else's opinion, whether we agree with it or not. But we're not Premier League managers, are we? Well, I think some of us might be compared to the others, but because you do see some managers, they don't notice things for about 6 months, and yet people on the side, on the talk, on the chat, we all see it, and they don't. Maybe we should be Premier League managers. Maybe we wish. But so coming up for our next game against Galatasaray, we got a couple of injuries, definitely. I mean, Van der Ven's out, Romero's out, Richarlison. Am I surprised? No, he literally came back on the pitch and got injured again. Are we actually missing anything with Richarlison apart from a number? Not really. I mean, if he actually took his head off before he played the game, he actually would look like a headless chicken on the pitch. Okay, I think he got an assist in the last game, if I remember right, but he's shit. Come on, okay, he's a poor player. I won't say he's shit. He's a poor player. He's not good. He's someone we could quite happily get rid of. And Shinrock just saying here, that's right, mate. Last season at the Lane, we went unbeaten. That was the one. But with those players out and people, I think one player we got who definitely needs a bit of a rest is Udogie, whatever we wish to call him. He's starting to look a bit knackered for me. His mistakes are getting very consistent now, and I think he needs a little break. And with that, it's going to be a tricky one on what we do there, because we're not exactly backed up in the squad to go making those sort of decisions. But I do think he needs a break, definitely. And it's like, where do we go then? What do we sort out at the back? Because we can't have Davis cover it. I mean, can Archie Gray cover it? Then who covers? Will he start Porro on the right? These are the questions that are going to start getting asked. I suppose we could start Porro on the right and put Archie Gray on the left, because he seems like a talented player that can play in every position on the pitch, except his own position. And maybe that's what we got him for. I suppose another one, only time will tell with that. At the back, like I said earlier, I think it's just we're going to have to start Davis and Dragusin. I think one thing we can say with these injuries we've got at the back, I think this might give us a slight, what's the word to use? I wouldn't say advantage, but a bit of luck. And what I mean by a bit of luck is, from what I've been reading off a lot of things and looking on my Italian sites that I go on a lot and follow as well, Dragusin is definitely seeming like he's a wanted man. And where Juventus have just lost one of their main defenders, they are very interested in bringing him to Italy, to Juventus. Now, if you was Dragusin and you had that offer, whether it's for a loan, whether it's for, I know it's down to Spurs to make the final decision, but could you really blame him if he pushed for that? Could you really blame him if he turned around and said, yeah, bollocks, I want out. I want to go to Juventus? Because he's hardly got a sniff here. He's hardly got a look. I mean, he didn't do himself no favour getting bloody sent off that time. That definitely didn't help. And then he plays in a small game here or there, or comes on as a sub because of an injury, or he plays in a little European game. And I do say little because they have been little games thus far. So could you really blame him if Dragusin then turned around and said, you know what, fuck it, I'm off. I'm going to Juventus. I'm going over there. Could anyone actually blame him? I mean, I think he had a brilliant game against Villa. I thought he had a very good game. You could definitely tell we sat back a little bit deeper in that second half, same as we did with City. But again, was that the pressure or was that Ange? Again, only time will tell. But I think Dragusin had a very steady game now, same as the other game. And we're actually starting to see he is a good player. And as a defender, of which he is about our only defensive player that can actually head that ball, that can actually get it in the direction and out the way, and can actually muscle himself up into the air and head the ball. Van der Ven, that's his weakest spot. I think a lot of us knew that before he came here, doing the checking up on him and that, and we've seen it as well. And Romero, not his best side either. And one thing that does always help with a centre-back to be able to do, what I always wanted a centre-back to be able to do, is head that fucking ball out, get it off the line. Whereas Van der Ven and Romero are quite, they're quite liable there, I think is the phrase to use for it. Dragusin, he looks solid. He looks like he's got the build for it. He can jump for it. He can get stuck into it. He's also not a slow player and he's good at going forward. His biggest problem is, if he's sitting on the halfway line, he can't just turn and sprint. He can't do what Van der Ven does. He needs to almost take a whole circular, like horseshoe sort of shape, or whatever they want to call it, and to be able to come back. And by then, it's already down the other end and in the goal. Whereas Van der Ven, he could just sort of spin it and he's on it. I mean, I don't know many strikers that could. I mean, he's a freak, that fella, and that actually is a compliment. I mean, the way he can run, especially as a defender, is not normal. I don't know, maybe he should be in Marvel or something. Stick him in the X-Men or Avengers, whatever, and it'll probably suit him for his pace. The fella is quick, and he's quicker than pretty much any striker out there as well. So if he's not going to be playing, that is where I think we see how much Ange is adapting and knowing we have to come back a yard or two and keep it at that. I'd prefer if we stayed like that the whole time, but if there's any time we got to do it, it's when we haven't got Van der Ven. Because I think a lot of people have agreed that without Van der Ven, we are open. Do I think Romero's a better defender than Van der Ven? Yeah, I do. As a whole, he's a better player. He's a better defender. His consistency has been appalling this year, and he's probably been one of our worst players. But by the skill, whatever we know he's got, I think he is better than Van der Ven. But as a team, as a squad, first 11 on the pitch, I feel we need Van der Ven more than we need Romero, purely because of Ange's tactics. And that's why he stands out so much. Because like I said, the man, the way he runs, he's a freak of nature. And good luck to him. Keep being that freak of nature at Spurs where you can run too fast. I mean, he can even outdo Walker, and Walker is fast. I mean, strikers, he outruns them. As how often do you see centre backs, out and out centre backs, not wing backs, being able to overlap two strikers that are 3-4 yards already in front of them? I can't even think of a player that is capable, that had the capability of doing that as a defender. Again, someone else does see one, do tell me, but I really can't. So tomorrow with Galatasaray, what do we do? I mean, obviously, the main thing is, are we going to play that youth team? Are we going to use about, what is it? We're taking about 5 youth players with us, if I can remember correctly. And what I say by youth is like 18, basically. Mikey Moore, 16. I mean, these days you get called a youth and like 24 still. And that's just where I think people make excuses. No, you're 24, grow a pair, man up, get into your game. You don't need to be kiss and cuddle for the rest of your life on a bloody football pitch. Go and do your job. Now, I can get it when someone says it about a 16-year-old, even an 18-year-old. But when people keep coming up with excuses for 24-year-olds, and no, for me, it's man up and get your act together. But it is going to be a fairly young team that it looks like we could be putting on there. I mean, are we going to play Vicario? I think he's actually played all right past couple of games. Excellent shot stopper, one of the best in the Premiership, I would state, without a doubt. But he's still very flappy hands when it comes out to a corner, too many times. Improvement, yes. Same as I think we've improved in a few other ways. I think our defence is slowly looking more stable, but he's still got to get his act together in a few, take control of that area. When that free kick is coming in or when that corner is coming in, boss it up, get your act together, get out there, show them that you're there. I mean, you're a goalkeeper. You could literally get away with slapping someone in the face. Maybe it's not that extent, but as a goalkeeper, you're allowed to push and shove a lot more than someone else on that pitch. You always could. He needs to man up in that aspect, in my opinion. And that, for me, has got to be his weakest point. He really does need to improve on that bit. That game against Man City, I really did like the way the couple of Man City players almost barged into him and he pushed him off. Get away from me. Go away. We need to see more of that. Whereas against Villa, a couple of times, he didn't look so physical, as confident as in to push the person out of his position. But then this goes back to another point. You can see that that's his weak spot. We can all see it. Everybody knows it. Every other manager knows it. Every other player knows it. Every other club knows it. You want to catch Tottenham out on their weakest spot from a corner or a free kick, muscle up on the goalkeeper. He can't handle it. So, why is it when that has happened so many times in the past, and also a few times this season as well, why aren't the defenders getting stuck in and backing him up? Why aren't the other players covering him so much? I've seen him do it a couple of times, but then too many times I've seen him just get pushed about again. Why isn't even the manager telling them, I don't know, maybe he is or isn't, but it doesn't look like it, telling them, defend your goalkeeper. That is his weak spot. Defend him. just the point I'm making there is, I suppose, again, another one, time will tell how much he is going to adapt to it, if he is going to get his act together. But I'll come back to the youth in a second. And leave it out, channel, what you're saying. Dan, it's not about how you lose. It's not about if you lose, but how you lose. That's exactly the point I'm making. We haven't got to win everything, mate, but at least make it look like we're in for the fight. And Sue saying, Angus, with a section of our fan base, did mediocrity is the middle name. Yeah, sadly, you're right. And Sue Smith, leave it out, channel. Angus says, Sue, I thought it was entertainment, mate. Don't go there. I can't be bothered with that one today. Fucking entertainment. But you're right. I can't make you wrong. And Jordan, it'd be typical for us to improve our away form and in turn affect our home form. We need consistency. It's that word again, isn't it, mate? Do you know what? That would be Spurs through and through. Go and win our next 5 away games and then go and lose our next 5 home games. It's just so inconsistent at this club. There has been no stability at this club since Poch, really, since about Poch's 3rd season. There's absolutely been no stability here whatsoever. With Conte, was there stability? No, not really. Mourinho, no. Nuno, no. About the only consistent thing we've had with Ange has been the inconsistency from him. Stability, no. That is one thing this club just does not have. The only stable, consistent thing you can say we will do is fuck up every transfer window by buying youth and by buying one all right player and then just overspending on another player and then making excuses for it for the rest of the season on why we're going to screw it up. That is about the most consistent thing you've seen at Spurs in about, 10 years nearly. Personal opinion, call it, but I don't think many could argue with that. And Edmondson, what you're saying, I like your attitude, Dan. Well, I appreciate that, mate. I don't get told that very often. I usually get told I've got a bad attitude. So be it. Each their own. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, it's no love lost to me. Some would say that's a bad attitude, but I'm not going to sweat over someone disliking me. So it's appreciated, mate. You don't care what people think about your negative stance. Me neither. I went on Last Word of Spurs last night with many other happy clappers. Did you enjoy it, mate? I might have to go and have a look at that myself. They don't usually seem to like inviting people on there who have a strong different opinion and will also back it up. That is why I feel that some of the happier pages, channels, whatever you want to call them, like to keep their distance from another side. Plus, we all know there's another side to it as well. I won't go into that, but some people just like to look good to Tottenham because they don't want to lose their little bonuses, don't they? I couldn't live like that. There is no way you will get me out there, on here, or anywhere where I'll be able to sit there and just bullshit it basically and make it right and everything when I don't believe it. I can't do it. It'd make me feel physically sick. I just cannot do it. Same as if I was playing football for my team and I got a little slap in the face. The way they go down and hit the floor like a sack of shit. I couldn't do it. Even for the penalty, I just couldn't do it. Maybe that is a bad attitude to have. I mean, some of the little tap on the face they get out there. I mean, if you was walking up the street with your missus and you got a little clip on the face like that, would you go down like a ton of bricks like someone just took your kneecaps out of a double barrel shotgun? No, you wouldn't. But you can do it on a pitch with about anything from 4 to 10 million people around the world watching you. I just couldn't do it. Again, each their own. But there we go. And Sue Smith saying, Angus, laugh out loud. I would say good luck. But injuries, playing hell with so many teams right now. I'm not going to say good luck because I'd be lying. The only thing I say to that is break a leg and take that how you wish. And Angus saying the season is done, mate. We ain't going to do nothing. Well, the cups ain't out the window, same as they aren't for us for you. But if you keep doing what you're doing, that league is out the window. Because again, we all know City can come back and just absolutely dominate. Literally, they can dominate. They show you what domination is. And Sue Smith, Jordan, yeah, that would be so typical. Yeah, don't we know it? And Jordan saying, I've watched a few Last Word at Spurs streams. It's good. I think I've watched them once or twice. Can't really say anything bad about it, but I don't usually watch that side as such. I just prefer to live on Realism. Even though Realism can be more depressing, so they say, but then that's Spurs for you. Let's weigh up the positives. Let's weigh up the negatives. And since I've been a Spurs supporter, Like it or lump it, it's a fact I put on there. There's a lot more negative I could bring out than there is positive over. It's just the thing is with it, and I suppose football with a lot of things. You can take all the negative shit, all the negative crap we've been through and everything. But when you finally get that one positive one, it makes all the negative stuff worth it. For me, anyway. Whether you look on it in life, whether you look on it in football, whatever. There's usually much more negative to everything. But the positive stuff is that good that it outweighs all the negative stuff. It's just at Spurs we don't seem to get no fucking positive stuff either, i.e. like cups and that. And until we start getting them on a regular basis, maybe we can just be happy with the entertainment. Maybe that's the positive side. We're an entertaining club. Yeah. And Ange's saying we've had one trophy in 5 years. It's not good enough. Mate, we've had one in about 20 years. That's not good enough. But we're entertaining. So I suppose we've got one on you. And Edwinson saying, I don't like this baiting of fans by Levy, but it's better than early 90s and late 90s when we played good football but kept getting beaten and avoided relegation on 3 seasons near the bottom. I can understand where you're coming from, but I'd quite happily get him out and take a gamble. They say you don't always know whether the grass is always greener on the other side. We know it's not. And at other times, yes, it is. I'm willing to take that risk with Levy, kick him out, and hopefully someone would come up and buy us like Abramovich who just wants to win. And that is what we would all love at Spurs, but I think we all know that Levy isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, you never know what happens during the week or whatever. How do I put it? Shit happens. We all know that. Life can be a bitch. And you just don't know. Or maybe he might sell up. Who knows? But I don't see none of that happening anytime soon. And Levy out channel. Inter will not start some of their star players today because they want to focus against Napoli at the weekend. I don't know. I'll have to. I mean, they still have Martinez up there, Thuram up there, Belotti in midfield. I think they've got a stable enough team to put their star players on. And yes, Napoli's going to be a hard game because Conte is doing extremely well with them out there. But I still think Inter want that Champions League just as much. And I think you will see they will put on their main team on there. Just got a guest who wants to jump on and say hello. Obviously, got his own opinion. Always good to see him on the show. People say he's the more level-headed person. How are we doing, Ian?
Yeah, good. You?
Yeah, mate. It's been a good day. I must admit. I've enjoyed today.
Me too. Me too. Pal of mine, my cousin in America, who's Major Trump, said, I'll send you a cap. He said, I'll send you a cap. I said, no, you won't. It's red. Forget it. You want to send me a Trump cap that's not red? Not a problem. Never wear red.
Either way. I mean, that's a political thing. I try and leave politics out of Spurs, but even a Spurs supporter ends up getting fucking political these days, doesn't it?
Yes, it is.
Here we go. Either way, on the football side of it, yeah? I was going into the game against Galatasaray tomorrow. It looks like we're going to have to play some youth players in there, definitely. I mean, he does anyway, but what do you think on that? I mean, Galatasaray is a bastard of a place to go to for anybody, let alone a 16-year-old and 3 or 4 18-year-olds.
Great experience. Superb experience for these kids. Throw them in. Throw them in. Let's see how they do.
And do you reckon they'll be able to mentally take that? Because that is going in at a deep end. Definitely. I can understand the good point of it, but that's really going deep.
No, once you're on the pitch, you zone out from everything else, don't you? You're just focused on the match.
I don't know, when you're at Galatasaray, that's for me, that's a different story. I mean, people talk about hard places to go to. That has got to be... Always get a bloody phone call while I'm on it. That has got to be one of the hardest places on the planet to go and play a game of football, basically, because of the abuse you are getting and the aggression and the flares and everything out there.
Do you know what? It's funny. The Premier League is so competitive that you just can't afford to write off any games. Mm-hmm. But this game we can lose and still qualify comfortably.
So, yeah, no, I've agreed with that. I said that earlier, mate.
throw them in. I'd probably start with Porro, play Gray at left back, and Drogoson and Davis. The two of them have hardly played any games. Let them play 2 games in 3 days. I'm sure it's not going to be an issue for them.
You're a professional footballer, for God's sake. You should be fit enough to do that. Absolutely. I get match fit and fit are 2 different things.
If we were, but Dan, if we were in the Champions League, nobody would be having this discussion, would they? It'd be like you play your strongest team. So
that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I can't argue that, mate. That's a solid point.
So you play Bergvall with any 2 out of Basuma, Bentancur and Sarr. And I would play up front, probably Werner, Moore, and Solanke in the middle.
I mean, he did have a very good game in that last one. He did.
Oh, phenomenal.
That second half, anyway. I think the second half, pretty much one I didn't even mention, just going back on myself here quickly, I thought Sarr had a blinder of a game as well.
Well, for me, he was man of the match on Sunday. Thought it was superb.
Definitely just up for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I must pick you up on one thing. I heard you just say Vicario.
Let me guess.
Yeah,
go on.
The corner's taken 2 deflections. There was no one near him.
No, I'm not saying that corner was his fault. I'm talking about in general.
Fantastic. I thought he did great just to get his hand to the ball. It's come off Porro and Bentancur, and he's sort of thrown himself across last second. He's come at him very quickly, and he's managed to get a hand to it. But where are the defenders? Balls run loose. There's a Villa striker on the line, and where are our players?
This is my point. I've argued with it. Where are they to back him up? They know it's our weak spot, so they should be backing him up, shouldn't they?
I don't know. Do you know what, Dan? Two corners given away, 2 goals given away from corners in 19 games. I think they're sorting it. I really do. That's a superb record. There can't be many teams better than that in the last 19 games. So and it's such a difference to the shit show that was last season. Literally from Liverpool, they started coming away from this stupid zonal marking, and they got battered at Liverpool, but none of the goals are from corners, which was pleasing, and it's carried on since then. And one could argue that Romero, Gabriel's goal should have been disallowed for foul on Romero. So it's pretty good. On that point, they've improved greatly. So, but no, tomorrow. I don't see
they need to do it more regular and back him up, though, don't they?
Well, listen, it's when you listen. If you say 2 goals in 19 games, these things, it's one of those goals, Dan, that unless you've got a defender on the line, one of those situations, balls come across, taking 2 deflections. It's one of those things that happens in football, and it's not a question that balls flicked across. It's not Porro's fault. It's not Bentancur's fault. It wasn't one of those where they ducked out of it or they got beaten to a cross. These things happen. It's just unlucky. It's just the nature of football. So, but do you know what? Superb second half, and
it was,
wasn't it?
Lovely goal by Solanke. The pass through on him as well.
Yeah, little ball from Johnson to Kulu, and then on to Solanke was superb.
The way you chipped that up there, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that was usually something you see with Barcelona or Real Madrid, wasn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. If that had been Vinicius, or Messi, everyone would have been going berserk. So, terrific goal. Great goal.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And I think that, people, we've been on the shows in the last couple of weeks, and people are questioning Solanke, one season wonder, where has he been for the rest of his career? Well, I think the manager he had last year probably suited him far better than any other manager that he's had in his career. And if Iraola can take him up to that level, then hopefully he knows he can perform at Premier League level. A lot of it is confidence, and you saw that on Sunday. And now hopefully, he's the first Spurs player since Van der Vaart to score 4 goals in his first 8 games.
Fair enough.
So, let's hope he takes it on from now. I think it'll be a great asset. I've said, we've got this little sportsman's bet with Stell that Solanke scores more than Sonny, and I think he will. I generally think he will. I think he's on hopefully he's on a roll now, and he can take it forward. If not tomorrow, if he doesn't get picked, then Sunday. So we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, with Galatasaray, like I said, I can see him putting quite a youth team out there. And do you think he'll start Forster instead of Vicario?
Again, good question. Possibly not. Oh, possibly not. I think he might stay with Vicario on this. Depends how many kids he puts out. If he sticks out a strong team and he goes with a back four of Porro, Dragusin, Davis, and Udogie, then maybe he'd play Forster. But if he doesn't, if he starts bringing Gray in, and he has one of the kids through the team, I can see him playing Vicario and playing it a bit safer.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he'd done either way. I mean, because Forster in the last game he played for us, he actually had quite a solid game, didn't he? He
played well, didn't he, against Alkmaar?
Yeah, so, he did. I think he saved our ass, basically, to an extent.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we'll get a point. I think we'll get a point tomorrow. I think we'll get a draw.
I mean, question here of Edmondson. What's he say? Hotspur here. Yeah, bite my tongue in the process. HotspurHood. Why did they change the format of the Champions League and Europa League? I think it's stupid. I can give you my opinion on it. I basically think they changed the style of the Champions League and the Europa to try and challenge the Super League as such. You know that Super League's still there. It ain't gone. It's still there. And I personally think that's why they changed it. So you can see the bigger teams playing the bigger teams quicker. Whereas before it used to be like out of 8 different little leagues or whatever it was they done it on, you'd usually get one death trap league, and then you might get 1 or 2 where it had a big team in there, and then it was usually one big team with 3 teams it could absolutely walk all over. Yeah. I think they adapted it and messed about with it purely to challenge the idea of the Super League. I mean, what do you reckon on that? That's why I reckon anyway.
Absolutely spot on. It was a sop to the top clubs, keep them on board. 4 extra teams in each competition. And does our viewer who sent that in not agree that it's far fairer to have all the teams just have one set of teams playing in each competition now and not having a drop down? I think it's brilliant. I think it's great. I think it's going to help Tottenham this year.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, Archie Gray, where would he actually start there? Would they put him right back? Would they put him left back? Would they put him fucking centre back? Because they ain't going to put him as a number 6 or a midfield central. I mean, because I think Udogie, he looks like he needs a break.
For sure.
He's looking half dead on that pitch.
Yeah.
So would he put him as the left back then?
I would think so. I think he'll play Porro. He left Porro out against Alkmaar, didn't he? So, and I don't want to talk too soon, and I don't want to balk it. Porro stays fit, doesn't he? He doesn't normally get hit with injuries.
No, he doesn't. He's quite a physical player as well. Don't mind getting stuck in. I think he's one of our best players personally, and I don't even think we see the best out of him because of the way we invert most of the time.
Absolutely, fully
but when we did play against Villa in that second half, that's a bit that I didn't bring up actually. In that second half, we weren't inverted. Once or twice we did, but a lot of the time we started actually seeing them overlap, and you saw a lot more out of it.
Absolutely. If you see Sonny's ball in for Johnson for the first goal, just before he's put the ball in, Udogie's gone outside of him, and the Villa player has given Sonny that little bit of that split second to whip it across. Is he sure? Does he go with Udogie's run? Does he let his teammate take Sonny? The run threw a bit of uncertainty, and because of that, it paid off. So yeah, definitely.
I think we almost look better on the counter attack because I think that's what we've done against Villa.
Well, for sure. If you think of the City, you think of the first goal that Werner got against City last week. Mm-hmm. Okay, City were pushing us back, but City played a high line, and the goal, and we counter-attacked, and we got we played behind City's defence into space. And I think, rather than just struggling against a low block as we do a lot of the time, that's how we should play. Bring teams on, create a bit of space behind. We got the speed, we got the speed and the strength to get through. That none of them, Son, Johnson, Werner, Solanke, none of them are slow.
They're not.
So,
I mean, with that, I wouldn't want us doing that every game. But this is what I was saying, like going back on myself totally, seeing as you're here. But that's what I'm going on with the adapting in games. I feel that certain games you just have to adapt. Every game, I feel you have to adapt slightly depending on a specific player that the other team's got. Like just an example I always give is Liverpool, when Salah's coming down that right-hand side, your left-hand side, you got to double man that up. You got to sit back a bit more, because if he gets past you, game over. Well, that's what I mean by adapting in games.
No, for sure. If you look at Conte, when Spurs went to the Etihad and won 3-2 with that most fantastic Harry Kane game, he played the three lines very close to each other. And he had particularly the midfield and defenders were literally 5, 8, 10 yards apart, right the way across, so you could double up every time a City forward had the ball. You doubled up, and you didn't give any space. There was no space in between midfield and defence, so that people could run on and the defence would be exposed. And it worked an absolute treat. It was an absolute tactical masterclass. And Kane that day was just fantastic. That was the best game I think I've ever seen him play. He scored that winning goal at the end, didn't he?
Yeah, that was a good game. But last two games we've looked solid. I agree with what people have said on the side. I don't think this Galatasaray game's so important. I know, don't underestimate a game, whatever, but I think give us another win or two after this one in Europe. I think we're quite safely through.
Should be.
And Roma, who I would have said is a very hard game to play at the start of the season, whereas at the moment they look like they're about to get rid of their second manager. And they haven't got a bad midfield for sure.
No, but I just think Spurs at home this year, I fully expect them to beat Roma and Elfsborg. Hoffenheim, draw at worst. Rangers, I would hope we will go up there and show them the difference between the Premier League and the SPL.
I totally agree with that one. I mean, again, Rangers not an easy place to play at. Neither is Celtic with the abuse up there, but I don't think they're nowhere near as bad as in Turkey.
Yeah,
I mean, but that won't be an easy game either in the aspect of where you're going. But I do agree with playing the youth lot on. You know what? If you're man enough to be in the squad, you should be man enough to play when you're top to play. But I just do think it's a deep end to drop him in at Galatasaray.
Well, listen, the club turned around and said that they weren't buying any players because they felt Gray and Bergvall were good enough. Let's see.
Prove it.
So I mean, absolutely. Let's have a look. These are guys these are coaches who see the players every single day. It's not. There's so much reaction with social media to what people say, and every mistake after that is picked up on. Let's give these kids a chance. They're young kids. They're raw. They're starting properly. They're starting their trade. They're learning their trade. And games like this will just accelerate their development. I think it'd be brilliant. I think we'll do all right. You look at players that other clubs have put in, and you talk to the fans, and they think absolutely fantastic. Kobe Mainu, Hinshelwood at Brighton. What's his name? Lewis Miley at Newcastle. And these kids were given a chance. They were talked about, but it's one thing doing it in youth and under 18, under 21 level. It's another thing doing it for the first team. But there have been so many kids that have come through that are given a chance, and people are pleasantly surprised. Well, why not? In the past, we brought Perriman in at 16, Hoddle in at 17. And people might say, well, things have changed, but everything's relative. And these guys, Hoddle would have been kicked to shit, in the mid 70s. This young kid, skillful player coming in, with the hard boys like the Ron Harrises of this world, and it's no different. It's just moved on. Everything moves on, but everything's relative to the timing, and the era. So throw him in, definitely. You know what? If we get beat, Dan, it's not the end of the world. I think the whole thing is about the club as a whole, everything moving forward. We're not going to win the league this year. We're nowhere near that. So let's just build and build and build like Poch did. A couple of years, then we have these two not great years because we didn't win trophies. And then I think he got sacked. It was the sixth actual season. I think he was there because I think he came in during this. Did he come in during the season on the first one, which I think was 14?
Yes, I think it was. I think he did.
Yeah. But he built it. He built it quite quickly. But for me, things are starting to look more promising. The way the season's going. Yep. The reserves are top. The reserves are second in the Europa League table.
But again, it goes back to my point, Ian, of consistency. If we go and lose to then Ipswich, it's 2 steps forward, 4 steps back for me.
We won't. We'll beat Ipswich.
We should do.
Oh, for sure. I've every confidence.
But then it would be a very Spursy thing to go and do, like I've repeated 10 times, to go and do Villa, do City, and lose against bloody Ipswich. It's got Tottenham written all over it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean the Spursy performances, that 1.5 games with Brighton and Palace, have been away from home. At home, they're much more comfortable. And in fairness,
we are. I said that earlier. We are actually looking like a bit of a solid unit at home now.
Yeah, and there's and in fairness, if with the players we've got, we'll be missing the two centre backs. But I think aside from that, we should have a full strength team on Sunday, all being well. So, Richie's not first 11. Odebear's not first 11. What's worrying with them is that Odebear's injury is twice as bad as the first one. So what are the medical team doing? What's going on there? Is he being rushed back too quickly? Because that's crazy. This isn't even a situation where it's a niggle. It's a recurrence of an injury. It's actually the same injury, but twice as bad. Richie's come on, and he's out now. I mean, I saw one newspaper report that he might be out for, God knows, between 4 and 8 weeks. I mean, it's crazy. Why are these players? We had so many injuries last year, and now the injuries are starting this year.
And it's the same ones, you're saying? Yeah,
it's the same ones. Romero was one of those things. He followed through, and that was an impact injury. But I think he's back for City. Van de Ven was a recurrence of the hamstring, but thankfully nothing more than a strain.
Yeah, I think he only strained it, but that's still a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's funny actually. I was having a chat with a pal of mine who suffered from hamstring injuries, and his physio. I was talking to him this morning. His physio told him that where the problem is, particularly with people that have speed, is that when they're stretching and they're landing and they're stretching at the same time, that's when hamstrings can go. And that's down to playing too high a line. If they just drop the line back, they might save
on the acceleration, isn't it? On
Sorry?
the acceleration with a hamstring as well can do you, the way you go from 0 to 50 so quick, or whatever way you want to put it. That also does a hamstring damage as well.
For sure. So let's save Mickey's career and let's drop that high line back a little bit. I wonder how long it's going to take them to realise.
Well, I think it's already proved for the last 2 games. If we was to just not go every team counter-attack, there's certain teams we can go into and literally go for the kill from day one. Yeah, like Ipswich, I would expect us to do that, and I would not be surprised if Ange done it, and I wouldn't have a problem with him doing it. But I just think one of the main things is if we drop that high line just back 5 yards, 8 yards even, I think that would get us better overall results. And the question is he actually starting to see that? I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that Conte's team, because of the lack of pace at the back, were virtually on their 18-yard box a lot of the time, just call that 20 yards out. I think the pitch is 105 yards at Spurs. So you're talking halfway line of 52 yards, edge of the box 20 yards. That's 30-yard gap. Just drop back 10 maybe. So, you know, you're 10 yards back, maybe just the other side of the centre circle. So at least you got a chance. That also bridges the gap between the back four and Vicario, because, I mean, we saw the other week, didn't we? Thankfully, he came flying out and won the ball against Poku, didn't he? Against Alkmaar. Great tackle. But I know that was Davis's back pass, but taking that aside, because there's always human error, but you know, the long ball's over. If we're further back, there's more chance of the opposition overplaying the pass and the ball going through to Vicario, which happened a few times on Sunday. So that's another advantage of playing a slightly lower block. But just take it back 10 yards, not the 30 that Conte did. Take it back 10 yards, see how it goes.
No, I can understand where you're coming from there. And I just think it would do a lot of good for us personally, consistently. And just going on what Phil said here, the Inter and Juventus game was mad, 4-4. And I wasn't convinced watching the Milan derby. No, Milan got the better of us in the derby. And the reason I've held on that one is I watched that Inter and Juventus game. We was 4-2 up at one point, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, talk about a game going tits up. Inter should have definitely had that. And going on a question you asked earlier, Angus, Dan, who do we have to watch tonight for Inter? I mean, there's a couple of players you can definitely bring up in there. I mean, you've got to watch out for their strike force. They have a good strike force. I mean, Martinez and Thuram, I would kill for either of them at Spurs. You've obviously got to watch for Barella in midfield. Zelensky, the Polish fella, he's also good. And I think the other one you definitely got to watch out for, I'm going to struggle to pronounce his name. I can't even fucking say his name. He's played at AC Milan and everywhere else as well. Calagri. I can't pronounce his name, mate. I can barely pronounce
it. Is he the Turkish boy?
Yes. I can't pronounce his name. Even if I was looking at the name, I can't. Calagri or whatever, however they say it, I can't pronounce his bloody name. But he's another one who's been having a pretty solid season as yet. And also older player, if I remember right, he's about 31 now. Dimacario, if that's how you pronounce his name, he's also had quite a solid season as well so far. But then they've also got backup they can bring on that side, like Dumfries, who I would quite happy having Spurs team as well. They've got a very stable team there. And especially when you've got an up front of Thuram and Martinez, you've got to watch that all day long. I mean, so with results and that, what do you reckon the results are going to be with Galatasaray and Ipswich then?
Oh, I would go for 2 draws. I think Arsenal get a result there.
You reckon?
Yeah, I do. I think they'll get a result. I think they're due a result. Arsenal. They're not, I think they'll be okay.
Well, I'm hoping Inter will get the better of them because
I know you are.
I'm going to be watching the game soon.
For me, the other thing also, Dan, this is where I'm torn with the other English clubs, is that you want a good coefficient for England, so that if England is one of the top two countries, then we get 5th place for a champion. 5th place gets your Champions League place at the end of the season, and for me, Spurs are capable of getting 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Can't see top 4, but I can see us getting 5th like last year.
I think it's more one or the other, and I must admit I'm at the point now where put the league aside, and I want that Europa Cup and I want that League Cup. I think we have got the quality to win a cup. I think Ange can win a cup because you can win a cup with luck and a good game.
Yeah,
you don't win a league with luck unless you've won it
because
of a goal difference or something. Basically, you still have to perform for 35 of those 38 games, basically. Yeah. And with that is in that aspect, whereas a cup. I mean, look at England in the Euros in the final. Don't tell me they was in that final because of skill and good games. They was in that final because of pure fucking luck or a moment.
Well, I don't know. They seem to get there consistently, don't they? That's the thing.
and they seem to
That's the thing.
consistently screw it up as well.
No, but you know,
just
they've had a semi, a quarter, and 2 finals, so they're fairly consistent. They they find a way at the end of the day. It's not great, believe me. It's not illuminating football, but they do seem to find a way.
But that last one, they was lucky to get there. They was very lucky.
Listen, we had the luck of the draw, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's where we got lucky, was with the draw.
I mean, just going quickly before I bring Dietrich in, what Angus said here, he's right. I know you're 100% right here, mate. Dan, with Ange going back to Glasgow as a former Celtic manager, trust me, it's going to be worse than you think because the abuse he will get. I'm not disputing that in any means or manner, mate. I'm not saying it's a nice place to go to. It's just I'd rather do that than go Turkey and go against Galatasaray at their stadium.
Well, you hope...
Personal opinion, call it.
You hope that he is fired up to go and win that game. And you hope so. You know, there's... I know he says about every game's the same and he wants to prepare his players in exactly the correct way up and give 100%. But sometimes there's, you know, you can't help it. There will be an edge for him on that game because of his Celtic connection. So...
well, let's hope so, because I do agree he's going to get some stick there. Anyway, Dietrich, how are we doing?
I'm good. How's everyone doing?
All good. Yeah. All good, thanks.
Been a good day, mate.
Oh, by the way, Dan, it's Çalhanoğlu, the Turkish.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. I can just about pronounce English names sometimes. You know, put an easy name like Smith or something in front of me, or Johnson or whatever, I can pronounce that. Half the European names and everything else, I'll end up biting my own tongue off trying to do it. But that's the one I'm on about. He's the one who played at AC Milan as well, isn't he?
Yeah, AC Milan and
and he's
Paul
about
Sol Campbell.
He's about 32, isn't he? Something like that, 31, 32.
Top
if
player.
not older, I think. Yeah, and he's definitely doing it at Inter at the moment. He's looked good since he's been there, basically, for the past seasons. So, right, I'll ask you then, with the games we got coming up against Galatasaray, what do you think the team should do? With the youth, should we play it mainly youth? Who needs to go missing for a game so that they're ready for Ipswich? Do we drop the youth players in it like this? What do you reckon on the whole thing?
Well, we have an issue. Both our center backs are injured. So my guess is probably we're going to see Ben Davies and what's his name? The Romanian, what's his name again?
Dragusin.
Oh, Dragusin,
yeah.
Dragusin.
Yeah.
But the problem we have is left back, because Udogi, you can tell he's not match fit and he looks tired. He's knackered. So who are you going to play in left back? Spence is injured and he's not registered, so who are you going to play?
Archie Gray is your only option then.
Then if you play Archie Gray, you have to play Poro too.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and midfield, I think I want to see the same midfield that we played against last game against Aston Villa.
What's that? Sarr, Kulu, and was it
Madison?
No, Bentancur, sorry.
Yeah, because that game
Madison came on later.
Because that game is we need destroyers, and Low Galatasaray, they're gonna play a dirty game, and we cannot afford to get Madison getting injured or the rest. And Bissouma, we all know he cannot handle the pressure. That's not the kind of game you want to see him. And going forward, once again we have another problem. Richarlison's injured, so either you play Solanke or Lancashire. But I think Lancashire's that's too big of a game for him. That's
one of the ones I was going to bring up as well, because I forgot to mention him earlier. Like, do you think he could actually get a start?
Lancashire? No, I don't think he should start. My personal opinion, I don't think he should start. He should come off the bench, but not start. I don't want to see Werner on the left. Mikey Moore, that's the kind of game you need him, because he showed you against Bayern. He can handle the physicality against Coleman when he stood up for himself. Those are the kind of games you want to see your youngsters. And on the right, you don't have too many choices. It's Brennan Johnson. So it's a bit of mix of youth, because we have no choice. And you want to see a bit of seniors.
But it's not...
And Vicario and keeper.
Yeah, I was going to say, you reckon Vicario will start?
He has to start.
It wouldn't
He has
surprise
to.
me if he did start Forster. I think it depends on how much he rates this Galatasaray game coming up. What is more
Yeah.
important? Now, for me, Ipswich is more important because that's our consistency for me. Galatasaray, I can forgive if it don't go right because we can fix it.
But you see the good thing, that if we win early, because we have to win 6 out of 8 games to be officially qualified. And in my opinion, like, we have Galatasaray and Roma. So those 2 games, I want us to win. To show to the others that, like, if we go against you, we're gonna beat you. And to be honest with you, I wanna win as soon as possible so we can play all the youngsters against Rangers.
Yeah.
And the other team.
Okay. I mean, Roma, I think we can actually, I mean, they was one I was definitely questioning at the start because they have not got a poor team by anyone's standards. I mean, I think their midfield is more solid than ours. But they have just been an absolute shambles this year. I mean, they're already about to go through their second manager.
Guys, I'll tell you why I was thinking more for kids against Galatasaray. I was just looking forward to, we were talking the other night, guys, regarding the amount of injuries that you could get, the amount of games coming up. And this is all supposition, but based on getting past Newcastle and winning the 3rd round of the FA Cup, we will end up with 17 matches in December and Jan. So, we'll end up with 3 in the League Cup, 4 in the Europa League, 2 FA Cup games, and 8 league games, based on beating Newcastle and winning in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. Sorry, not Newcastle, Man United. So 17 games is a hell of a lot, and you're going to be, players are going to be pushed, particularly over the Christmas period.
Oh yeah, that's what I said earlier. That's when people get destroyed. That's when teams win or lose a season, sort of thing.
So for me, it's you look at it and you think to yourself, okay, we've got an international break after. So play your strongest team for both games, which is one way of looking at it. But then you think to yourself, it's going to catch up with them later on in the season. So give these guys a rest when you can. This isn't a must-win match tomorrow night. So as many players as you can, give a rest to.
A draw, I'd be happy with it. It's one of those games I'd actually be happy with a draw. Like Absolutely. I said earlier, a couple of draws can end up worse than defeat. Yeah. But this is one where I think a draw would be a more than respectable result.
Very much so.
I mean, Dietrich, what do you reckon?
I disagree. I think it's a must-win game. Because if you cannot beat the likes of Galatasaray away, I don't think you're capable of winning the Europa League. You have to win those big games. You have to.
I get where you're coming from.
Like, I don't want us to focus, like, okay, Ipswich is an important game, but what's more important? The league that you know you're not going to win, or there's a chance you might win the Europa League? I'd rather put all my eggs in one basket, and that's the Europa League, the FA Cup, and the League Cup. I know the league, it's done. It's too late, it's done. We're not going to do anything more.
The league, we was never in a run for it anyway.
No, I'm not saying winning, but like...
I will say they were delusional.
But like, if people focus on top 4, if you win the Europa, you're officially qualified in the Champions League.
And so what's more important? Need 5th.
And you might only need 5th, so... And you look at all the other teams, other than City and Liverpool, there's not like much of a threat. So it is more than capable to win. I think the Europa is we're more capable because there's no Champions League team that's going down.
Absolutely, I've said that all along.
Yeah, so it's easy, but let's see what they do.
It's if you qualify straight away into the last 16, then it's 12 games from here on, between now and May 21st.
I disagree.
Ellie says here to you, Dietrich, the Galatasaray is not a big game, really, Dietrich, because we can lose it and still qualify quite easily. I do get her point.
Yeah, I get her point, but that's not what I'm trying to say. The environment, like the hostility, those are the kind of games you're going to see in the semifinals, the quarterfinals. If you cannot handle that pressure, then it more than tells me that you're not capable of winning.
I think you got a solid point there, Dietrich. Actually, but I'll go with on that one. If this was say a quarter final for me, more Bergville, Gray, and Lancashire or whatever, and Forster, they ain't starting.
No, for
They ain't
sure.
starting. If
For
we was
sure.
in a quarter final or semi final and Ange done that, then I would say you ain't got a clue. Then I would like, what are you actually doing, mate? But for the build up and everything towards the last 16 quarterfinals, whatever, and that we can mess about with that sort of thing, can't we? Like an early stage in a cup as such, but you still got to be careful with the cups. I mean, for me, I think the way our squad is very small. I mean, obviously, if we do anything in January, I'd have a say in it, but I'd have to see it to believe it. And also, Ange is just not stable enough over 38 games, I don't think. Not as yet. He hasn't done nothing to prove he is stable yet, consistent yet, whatever way you want to see it. I still see us finishing round about 7th in that league because we never seem to have a season without a handful of injuries that damage us as well. And having such a small team that we've got really with youth in there, that's not going to help. But I cannot see why we can't win the cup this year. Like I said, you can ride a cup to an extent, and you've got to have good games in it as well. I think we could seriously get that League Cup and seriously, or go for that Europa. And I'm agreeing with you on that, Dietrich, in the aspect. I'd rather just say, do you know what? Fuck it to the league. Go do what we can. Focus on that Europa because I think I think we could do it. And with what you two said, which I knew as well, the aspect of there's going to be no Champions League dropping down. Like you're not going to have all of a sudden an Inter Milan or an AC Milan or a bloody, I don't know, or a Liverpool or a Leverkusen or a Bayern Munich or Dortmund or the list can go on and on and on. You're not going to have one of the, or Real Madrid even just like all of a sudden dropped in front of you, are you?
But I'd rather have the players not burnt out come March, so that when we've got hopefully Europa League quarterfinals coming up, you know, they're okay. You know, they're fit. They're not, you know, they're not tired. They're not fatigued. So, you know, for me, it's lose tomorrow, not the end of the world. Let's just make sure we get through, beat Ipswich, and then we've got hopefully a full set of players, bar one or two, for Man City on the 23rd. Which again, you know, he's starting to look. They could get something there. You know, we weren't there last year with two centre backs of Emerson and Davis, and got a 3-3 draw. So anything's possible.
It's like what Joseph says here. I'd rather see Spurs go strong tomorrow, like play Son for at least play 80 minutes, and then having coming off the bench against Ipswich, being at home. I could understand that. I don't think, for me, Son, it'd rather be one in this game. Depending on where the results are going, it'd rather be one I'd rather bring on for 20 minutes instead of having start. I mean, what do you two think the chances of that are?
You know, Dan, each option that we're mentioning, and Dietrich and I disagreeing on what we think Spurs should do. But for me, either or is... It's all
opinion at the end of the day.
That's right, but there's no wrong. You know, if we go strong, it's not the wrong thing in terms of because you want to get qualified as soon as possible. And then you can stick the kids out in January against Hoffenheim and Elfsborg. So there's that. You got that going for it, and just saying with the Europa League we've got a chance. Or the other way is for me Europa League is the game, but you don't want the players fatigue come March, April, which will give us a better chance of winning the Europa League. So you know, depends which way you go. But neither of them are disastrous options by any shape. You know,
but Ian, if you don't want the players to get burned out by the end of March, the easiest, simple solution is go buy players in January, and it will not happen.
It depends who's available, DJ.
Everyone has a price tag. Everyone.
Very true.
Well,
it's just Spurs don't spend that on wages.
Yeah, they just don't spend, like, for example,
And January is a bastard, Dietrich. January is an awkward. It's one I will go with when people say it. I know people make a lot of excuses, but for me, January is an awkward time to sign a player because a lot of people don't want to lose their player in the middle of the season.
they don't
It
want to
is an
lose.
awkward time.
I get it. Yes, they don't want to lose any players in January, but you know what's the simpler solution? Do like Arsenal did with Partey. Go on players that have a release clause. No need of hackling. Just go get it. Activate the release clause, and it's your player.
But this is where we go back with Tottenham. We don't do that.
For example, Gokira has a release clause. Top striker, go and sign him in January if you have ambition.
No, he's already done and dusted, mate. As far as I'm concerned.
No, I know. I'm
Man
just
U are going to have him. No, I know what you mean, but I think Man U are going to have him. I mean, they got the manager I wanted as well. I was pissed with that, and yeah, I think it's already written. He's going to go Man U all day long. I mean, Lord Rodney Trotter, what you're saying here, it's a load of bollocks. We've been here before. We know what it takes to get to these European finals, and it's not by doing the bare minimum. I agree with what you're saying, mate. I do agree with what you're saying. We've been here before on everything, whether we've been close to a league, whether it's been close to a cup, whatever. We've been close to a couple of things, and we just screw it up nearly every time. But this is a one where we could lose that game and it wouldn't be the end of the world. Yes, I want us to win every game we play or even get a draw out of this one, fine, but it wouldn't be the end of the world is what I think we're trying to say here. But then you should also want to win every game as well. And then there's that point of would it be good for the youth ones? Like I said, I think it would be a double hard one to drop them in, but why not if you're man enough to do it, isn't it? But if we do lose that Galatasaray game, it is not the end of the world. So with that, we can afford to do that.
Yeah, and if it saves legs as well and players that little bit fresher going forward, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And go, what's that? 5:37 a.m. in Melbourne. Cool. Good luck to you, mate. And also putting out 5 gifts on there. Thanks a lot, mate. Much appreciated. And anyone who received a gift, do say thank you. That is appreciated, mate. So with it coming up against Galatasaray and Ipswich, you think we're capable of winning both then and taking it from there?
Be lovely to win both. I think we'll draw tomorrow and we'll beat Ipswich.
I mean, Ipswich, I think, would just knock us off a bit, wouldn't it? That would just totally.
Dan, you don't be over Spursed.
Mate, I've been a Spurs supporter for 40 years. How can I not be fucking like that? I mean, like I said to all you earlier on Stealth Show, I don't know if anyone else sees it like this, but Spurs could be 4 points clear and it'd be the last game of the season. And I would still be looking over my shoulder of something we could do to cock it up that would make us lose, even though we're 4 points in. We'd probably have something like, we lose the game, but we're still a point clear, win the league. Then all of a sudden it comes up that Levy's had his hands in a few too many pies and we get 2 points deducted or something.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It would just be so, if that actually happened, God forbid, it would just, I mean, we are one of the only ones that could get into the Champions League in 4th place. Chelsea have a shambolic season like they basically did. Go and play Bayern Munich at their home fucking ground in the final and still pull it off and win it, and we get knocked into Europa Cup.
Hang on, and Dan,
only Tottenham.
Dan, and then they changed the rules for the following season.
That's right.
And then, added to that, the handball rule is changed for the final of the Champions League, and it starts on June the 1st, which is when we're playing Liverpool in Madrid. And
that weren't even a handball.
Of course it wasn't. It came off his chest.
He weren't even in the bloody area.
Worst, it possibly was, but it wasn't a handball. Mane was very cute because he knew the rule change, and the referee wanted to make a name for himself and gave the penalty. Only us, 21 seconds, first time ever in a Champions League final, and it took 21 seconds. That's Tottenham. We are jinxed. We just are jinxed.
So why do we even fucking bother then? Because it just go with the flow, isn't it?
It's the hope that kills you, isn't it? But
yeah,
wouldn't support anyone else.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's just it's there. It's in the blood, isn't it? And Dave, still at work, mate, I presume. Galatasaray have a really good front line. They don't have a bad one for sure. I mean, they got that Osimhen up there, haven't they?
Yeah.
And but they have Davison Sanchez at the back, so
Yeah.
I can see 3-3. So, people, give me your opinions on the review. Start again on the result that we're going to get against Galatasaray, because I've still got about another 10 minutes before I have to leg it up the shop and grab a couple of beers so I can watch Inter Milan and Arsenal. But for a result for that one, I think we can squeeze a 1-1 out of that, personally. Not going to be easy in any means or manner, but I think we can get a 1-1 with that game. I mean, what do you think on the result for that one overall?
What? Sorry, tomorrow?
Yeah, Galatasaray.
Yeah.
I think we can get a 1-1 out of that.
Definitely. They're good up front. They're not so good at the back. So, you know, and they play in a poor league. It's not a great league, is it? It's not a great league.
Easy. No, but it's a European league. It's not. They're still a good enough team. They're still good enough to beat us at the end of the day.
Listen, I might have egg on my face. You might get smacked 4-0, but I can't see it.
Let's not hope not.
I can't see it. I hope not. Yeah.
You know, right? I've got to go and I forgot. I've also got to order dinner as well, but I've got to leg it up the pub and because I've got to have a couple of beers while I watch this. I can't go and watch a game like that and not have a beer sitting by my side. And so, Ian, cheers for coming on. D-Trix, I know you're doing your own thing at the moment, but cheers for coming on. Where do we catch you sooner or later, Ian? Because I'm sure you'll be around.
Tomorrow night, I'm on Stell's show after his after-match podcast, Tottenham away.
Okay, and I'll probably catch you on there as well then.
Yeah.
And D-Trix, we'll probably catch you as well. So cheers for coming on, everyone. Cheers for watching. Don't ask often. Give us a quick like and subscribe. Be much appreciated. And everyone, have a good day and come on Inter and come on Spurs tomorrow. See you later.
I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it down. Take it down. I'ma turn it up and then I'm gonna take it